James Kirby is the Managing Director of Business Spectator, and he joins us now for more on finance. James, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In fact, we're just sort of counting down the, 45 minutes, something an hour, until we hear from Barack Obama, his very important speech on stimulus and on job creation.
Yep.
Governments create jobs, do they?
They create the circumstances in which jobs can be created, but they don't create them themselves, of course. But what's happening in the US is you've got this jobless recovery. This is a terrible pattern that you've seen. It's quite common in recent times where you have a recovery, but the jobs don't come through. If the jobs don't come through after a few months, then a jobless recovery isn't a real recovery.
Tell me a little bit more about that. So what form does the recovery take that might leave behind jobs?
Well, because people can improve, you can have GDP improvements and companies can improve their profits without hiring. And in fact, what's happening at the moment is the signals are mixed, and what companies will do is they'll see some improvement in their sales, for instance, and their revenue, but they'll be very reluctant to hire because it actually is an extra step in confidence to take on workers in any company of any size.
Yeah.
Now, let's look back at this week. We had a couple of differing economic figures, the growth figures, which were good, and yesterday's jobless figures, which were not so good.
They were not so good. Though, just thinking about the job figures, it's a small move, a deterioration, if you like, moving us up into the high fives. But that means that it would take some pressure off interest rates. It would certainly take significant pressure off any need to lift interest rates. And so, to some extent, for 95% of people who are employed, it would mean some improved security in terms of where we're going with interest rates, where we're going with mortgage rates. And in fact, there is some sort of glimmers, if you like, of consumer confidence improving the last few days in the Roy Morgan survey, which came out, which showed some improvement in consumer sentiment, which would be very useful if that came through and translated into retail sales.
We've also got a very high-profile business legal stoush looming. The papers have found this irresistible. Why would you not put this on the front page of your paper when the mining magnate, the richest woman in Australia, Gina Rinehart, is apparently sued by her own daughter?
Yes, well, billionaires get sued by everybody, including their own family. That's not unprecedented.
Well, as we said earlier on the programme, this family has a tendency to row.
It does. And what's interesting is, now that she is the richest woman in Australia, the richest person in Australia, the family...
Yes, I said woman, you're quite right, person. Yeah, she's got the
She's the richest person in
yes.
Australia. The family, we don't know much about them so far. If you look at the Pratt family, the Lowy family, it's actually quite public, their plans for family succession and how they do it. Rinehart family is a mystery, really, to many people. So the court case will be fascinating if it ever gets public.
What do we know about it so far? What's this suit supposed to spin on?
It seems to be intellectual property is the only sort of signal we've had as to what the issue is at hand.
Right. So someone believes they've been dudded out of some aspect of what they believe they own.
Yes, it would seem to be some issue like that. It's very hard to say. There's very few details. Intellectual property, there's an attempt to suppress by her side the details of what it's all about. But interestingly, the daughter in question is Hope Rinehart Welker. And the big asset, one of the biggest assets of the Rinehart family is the Hope Downs. Hope Downs named after that girl's grandmother.
Right, the plot thickens.
Well, we had Alan Howe suggesting on the program just earlier that he doesn't think we'll hear anything more about this because of a suppression order that rich people can often successfully get in courts. Do you agree?
I expect that her QC will get what she has asked him to do, yes.
A very expensive QC.
And shut this one down. James, always good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you.